Hi, this is Eddie from Eddie's Pottery. I know there was a couple of things that I left out when I originally did the first video. And that was roughly a year and a half ago, or almost 2 years ago. But I wanted to show everyone, and some of the easier ways, because I've made more. I've made more of the rotary. I've made more of the rotary sieves since the first one, and every one that I've put together has worked great. So I have come up with a couple of different ideas since then, and hopefully you'll watch the video, and so I can give you some more tips on how easy it is to make. I mean it's not that hard. All of my metal pieces that are on the inside, I pre-cut all of them. Each one is 15 inches from here to here. I then went and cut roughly two. I think each one has probably a 2-inch piece cut out of it. Now the thing is, you want to make sure that when you cut it 15 inches, you want to make sure the round hole, you want to make sure that 3/8 is dead center on this piece from here to here. Okay, I wanted to make sure that you understood what I was doing when I was drilling, putting this together. Now what I did was each one of these holes here to attach the piece of wood that's helping, let's say, strengthen this piece. Screws are at, I drilled a small hole, pilot hole, in each one of these before drilling and putting that screw in there, so that it would go in easy without splitting. Okay, then on drilling the hole through this brush, because the wood is so thin, I wanted to make sure that it didn't split also. So I used 4 different steps. I used a small one, a small pilot one, then one that was about twice that size, then I used a 3/8 to initially go through this. 3/8 was the big one. Now, except for the 4th one, which was, I think, 7/16, which is just a shade larger than the 3/8. And the reason I did that was so I wouldn't have to fight with it later on when I put this through here with the nuts and the washers and everything, and I attached this piece to it. So I used several different drill bits in order to make sure that I didn't have any problems, and that way they would go together rather easily. Okay, what I've done was I put a washer, a nut, a washer, a lock washer, and another nut, and then I've tightened these down to where I guarantee you it's never ever gonna come loose. I cut one for this one here, and I cut one for this one here, so that means I've cut 3 pieces already, and it looks like I may be able to get at least 1, 2, 3, at least 3 more out of this piece, which I only paid $10 for on eBay. So and this is 80 mesh, and what I did was I cut the corners off of it, so cut the corners off so it would fit inside. And what I'm going to do now is I folded over this here. Now I will turn this over so it'll be smooth on the inside. And okay, what I've done, if you look real close, I drilled a hole on this one side, and I am going to place a 1/4 inch bolt and washer through this right here. Okay. Now, get that one. And what I'm going to do, what my plan is, I want to do one side, the opposite side. Then I'm going to go to the next corner over here, and then I'm going to go opposite over here. You see how I've done this one? I'm going to do this one exactly the same way. Okay, here we go. I put way too many bolts in that one there. Normally there's only supposed to be 8. Hi, I'm back again. I wanted to show you what I did with the brushes here. I went and put it on the saw and leveled off the very top. The top was rounded, and I did not want it rounded. I needed it flat so that it would, when I did attach everything and tighten it down good, it wouldn't move to one side or the other, so that way it would be let's say equal when I attached this up and tightened everything down. I didn't want it tilting to one side or the other. So I did both these brushes the same. I attached little trim pieces on the side of it to where it would, let's say, give it strength. Lock washer and the 2 nuts, and tightened everything down. The overall piece of angle iron that I have here is 15 inches from end to end. Then I went and cut a 2 1/4 inches off of it at each end, so that way I can fold this up at each end, and that way it will be able to, I can adjust it to be inside the bucket, and that way when I put a bolt through it, through the hole, then that way, you know, I won't have any issues with it being uneven in any way, shape, or form. Now, I made sure there was an equal amount at each end. There's roughly 1/8 of an inch at each end here. So, and this is the first piece. The first piece is different than the second piece. This is the top piece, and you want it to be just a little bit longer than the second piece. But when you cut these, you know, you're going to cut these, and they're going to be, you know, you're going to make your cut on this lip right here at each end of this piece of angle iron. You're going to make it 2 1/4 inch cut, come down and then over, and you have your 15 inches to the center. Well, 15 inches long, and then you have what, 7.5 inches to the center of this. Well, you want to cut off the 2 1/4 inches off each end of this, so that you can fold this up and it will fit inside the bucket evenly. But this one here, the very first one, is the top piece, and what you want to do is put the angle iron on the 2x4, and then all you're going to do is take a hammer and beat that down, straight down like so, and that way it will fold over this end, and then you're going to do the same thing at the opposite end, and that way it's going to fit inside the bucket. Okay, now I wanted to let you know what I did. You know, I bent my pieces, I got each one of them folded up. That way it'll fit inside the bucket. But this next piece is going to be a little different. Now, I do want to say this. On all the pieces that I've done, you know, I made sure that I used a 3/8 drill bit to drill that center hole. I wanted to make sure that it was done properly. And then on the end here, there was a round hole, but I wanted to elongate that round hole. So I drilled back and forth to make sure that it fit through there. And I did the same thing with this one here. There was an elongated here, but I wanted it up closer than this here. That way all my dimensions would be the same. So I drilled that one there, elongate, and then I made sure that the 3/8 went through here. Sometimes it'll be a little tight for the shaft or one of the bolts here that you're using, and you just want to make sure you check that to make sure that it works properly. What I want you to know is what I went and did was I changed the 2x4 just a little bit from its original specifications. The top part of it was 10 5/8, and then what I did was I trimmed off a little bit off one end partially, and that way it has a different dimension, which is a 10 1/8. And the reason I did that was, okay, this one right here is the top part of the angle iron, and it fits on the 10 5/8, you know, really good. So that way it's going to fit on the top part. And then the second part of it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this other piece that was exactly the same size, but I'm going to turn it upside. I'm going to turn this upside down, and I'm going to show you that it's going to go. You take it and fit this end up. This end will, and when you put that C-clamp on it, you clamp it down, and that way it's going to fit here. You're going to then put that C-clamp on, and you're going to bend down this tab, this part of it, and that way it's going to make it a little bit smaller than the other piece. That way it'll go further down into the sieve that you're making. So you fold that down, and then you're going to do that to the same thing on this end. You're going to fold this one down. Then that way, when we put everything together, this is going to be just a little bit smaller than the other piece, which I will show you when I put it all together. So let me finish this up and I'll show you. Okay, I got both pieces made. One's just a little bit longer than the other. If you look at it, I'm going to line it up here. I lined up this end right here, and then when you come down and look at the end, you can tell that one of them's about a 1/2 inch or so longer than the other. I'm going to put the shaft on both of these, and then we're going to get it bolted down to the inside of that bucket, and I'm going to show you what we've come up with. Got this put together to where you can see the brackets that I made, and I put the bolts in it all the way through on each side. You know, there's the top one and the bottom bolt. Now, and the reason that I did that was, you know, it comes through the bucket. You know, it's bolted down on both the brackets, but you're going to use that bolt to your advantage, because that bolt right there is going to then go into, you know, you're going to use another bucket to sieve and strain your clay or your glaze from, and it's going to go into another bucket. I tightened this. I tightened up the two bottom ones first. These two bottom ones first. I put this handle on there, or this bracket here, tighten both these up. Then I put this piece on. I tighten. All this is a piece of PVC, and it's a bolt that just runs all the way down. You tighten this up, make it loose so that you've got a nice little handle. But then I put these two bolts, tighten them down, slip this on, put another washer over it, washer on this side, washer on this side, put a lock washer here, run the two nuts down together, and then tighten everything all together right there. Now that's there, it has a handle, you can turn it. Now I'm going to take my Sawzall, and I'm going to cut that off right there. Take a little sandpaper or a file and smooth that off, and then this one here will be just like this one here, nice and easy, and it'll turn. So that's how, this is not rocket science. This is really easy stuff to make. And these little bolts that stick out on the side, like I said, once you get a full bucket, if you got a good bucket, it'll sit right down inside. You pour your material in here, crank that handle, it'll go right through it into the other bucket, and the job is done. It's a lot easier, a lot cheap to make. Hey, so I'm gonna cut this top off here, smooth it all down, and this here is ready to go. And this here's 80 mesh. Like I said, you can go on eBay or another supplier, and you can get 100 mesh. I hope this information helps you. This is Eddie's Pottery. Eddie's Pottery here in Illinois, and I hope this information helps you. And this was, sorry it took so long, this was part 2 of all the information you needed to make a rotary sieve for whether it's glaze or sifting clay. So hey, thank you very much for watching, and good luck.